It seems like my husband cheated, and the suspect is 30 years older than him. Here's what happened. Wu Lin's department head, Wei Yan, lives upstairs. In the afternoon, she asked me to help her pick up a package. The item was wrapped in a tiny shipping box. Out of curiosity about the wealthy person, I glanced at the item named. It turned out to be the necklace that I had always wanted. So coincidental, did Wei Yan also buy it? Would a 50-something rich woman buy something like this small jewelry that young girls wear for only a few $100s? This event seems suspicious. A few days ago, I saw this necklace on Taobao. It has a silver chain with a cute and delicate fox crystal pendant hanging below. Such a cute and seductive little fox, this design instantly ignited my teenage heart. So I repeatedly hinted at Wu Lin, showing him pictures, and kept bringing it up in front of him, praising the necklace's craftsmanship highly. I openly expressed that I wanted this necklace and asked him to buy it for me. Wu Lin was puzzled. What's so special about a necklace? You don't understand. No girl would refuse this necklace. I looked at him, my eyes shining with desire. It seemed Wu Lin became interested. He glanced at the price, raised an eyebrow. 230 renminbi, it seems to have quite a good value for money. Of course, I picked it out after a long time. I said proudly, will you buy it for me? Wu Lin smiled but didn't respond. But I secretly saw his purchase record. He probably wanted to surprise me. That evening, I secretly opened Wu Lin's phone while he was sleeping. It asked for a password, but I remembered his usual unlock gesture. I checked the Taobao logistics information and found that the necklace had already been signed for. I clicked into the customer service chat box and discovered that he even wrote a card, to my beloved. But I hadn't received it. Wei Yan had just received one. Based on my woman's intuition, 2 words suddenly popped into my head, infidelity. But then reason brought me back to reality. Wei Yan was already in her 50s, and her grandson was in kindergarten. Wu Lin shouldn't be looking for her even if he were the worst. I met Wu Lin in college and got married right after graduation. We both work in Hangzhou and don't have a house. I wanted to rent an apartment in a cheaper area, planning to save up a down payment to buy a house after working for several years. But Wu Lin insisted on choosing an expensive neighborhood in the city center and signed the contract directly. I thought he might find it more convenient to work and entertain there, so I went along with him. When we first moved in, we met Wei Yan in the elevator. She was an elegant and sophisticated career woman, carrying a large Louis Vuitton bag, dressed impeccably, with skin that looked like it had been nurtured by high-end skincare products. When Wu Lin told me she was already in her 50s, I was surprised. She looked no older than 40. I couldn't help but exclaim, money is really great. Wu Lin respected his superior a lot and said Wei Yan treated him well at work, taking good care of the new employee like him. She gave him many opportunities for growth. To help my husband build better relations, I boldly added Wei Yan on WeChat. Sometimes when we received specialties from home, I would send her some too. For running errands with packages, I was also very diligent, but today's events have left deep suspicions in my heart. Once a woman suspects her husband of infidelity, she won't let any clue slip by her, even if the suspected person is a 50-something woman. I carefully recalled Wu Lin's usual habits and noticed something strange. Wu Lin often went upstairs to discuss work with Wei Yan while wearing pajamas after taking a bath. When I saw this, I told him, it's not respectful to go to your superior's house dressed in pajamas. Are you saying it's polite to make others uncomfortable by smelling bad? Wu Lin countered. Just put on clean clothes. I thought it was weird for someone to go to another person's house wearing pajamas. I'd have to change and then take them off, isn't that troublesome? I just want to report my work to Ms. Wei, so hurry up and take a bath, dear. Go to bed early, don't worry about getting wrinkles. Wu Lin kissed me, then he took another shower after coming back, and I asked him why. He said he was too nervous and sweaty from discussing work with Wei Yan, so he had to wash again. I didn't doubt it, because Wei Yan was 30 years older than him, it wouldn't happen. But the more I thought about it, the stranger it seemed. Discussing work wasn't a big deal, but choosing the wrong time and always doing it for 2 hours every time was strange. Wu Lin was so particular about his clothing and appearance that he would meticulously choose what to wear and match it with shoes. How could he be so casual when going to his superior's house? Also, no matter how much someone liked cleanliness, they wouldn't wash twice in one night without doing any intense exercise. Moreover, the vague look in his eyes and his exhausted demeanor when he went to bed clearly indicated something was wrong. I used to think it was because he worked too hard. Additionally, there was another thing that made me uncomfortable. One time in the elevator, Wei Yan patted Wu Lin's butt right in front of me. It was one thing to pat shoulders, but changing targets like that? General Manager Wei, isn't that inappropriate? I got angry at the time. How can you do such a thing? Even hitting someone's bottom. Wu Lin acted as if nothing happened. It's not like a woman is getting her butt touched. Ms. Wei is just like my mother. This is how elders show love to juniors. What's so surprising about it? If the genders were switched, that scene would have been horrifying. But seeing Wu Lin smile normally with no sense of being teased, I thought maybe I was overthinking things. After all, a husband can be affectionate while his mistress doesn't necessarily reciprocate. However, the necklace incident connected all my suspicions together. Men's baser nature is hard to guard against, not after women's beauty, who says they don't love money. This matter had to be clarified. I recalled a Valentine's Day when Wu Lin gave me a bouquet of flowers. After work, I held the flowers and took the elevator just as the door was about to close. Wei Yan also arrived. I opened the door to let her in, but she covered her nose and stepped back, indicating we should go first. When I got home, I asked Wu Lin what happened. Wu Lin told me that Wei Yan was allergic to pollen. So, while Wu Lin was sleeping, I secretly smeared pollen all over his shirt's chest and collar. The next day, I left work half an hour early on purpose and waited at the elevator entrance of the neighborhood. Wei Yan came over, and I noticed she was having an allergic reaction. Her mask couldn't cover the red spots on her face. My heart instantly sank to rock bottom. Since you're not being nice, don't blame me for not being fair. I immediately found a reliable friend to help me buy a recording pen and a surveillance camera. This recording pen was ingeniously designed. It was a black ebony dragon pendant that looked no different from an ordinary pendant. With a simple software download on the computer, I could play back the recordings. I gave this dragon pendant to Wu Lin. Why did you suddenly give me this? Wu Lin took the pendant and rubbed it repeatedly, looking very pleased with it. I thought it was beautiful and wanted to give it to you. This little thing cost me over 5,000 yuan. I pretended not to care and said that since Wu Lin was particularly vain, he would definitely accept it. Oh? Then I'll wear it properly. I can't disappoint my wife's good intentions. But you better stop spending money recklessly from now on. We still need to save for a house. Wu Lin complained about my extravagant spending while eagerly putting on the pendant. Hee, your money is your money, and mine has become our money. But seeing Wu Lin accept the pendant, I laughed. Additionally, I installed a small surveillance camera in the room. After observing for several days, Wu Lin exposed one of his secrets. He had a dedicated phone to communicate with Wei Yan. This phone was hidden in our box where we keep unused items, along with my discarded phone. No wonder I couldn't find any suspicious activity when I checked his phone records earlier. I picked up this backup phone and opened the WeChat chat history, which was filled with intimate messages between Wu Lin and Wei Yan. The conversation could be traced back to before we moved into the neighborhood. It turned out that Wu Lin had been infatuated with Wei Yan since his university internship. Our house was also found by Wei Yan. It happened to be directly below her apartment. What a well-laid plan she had. Continuing to browse through Wu Lin's phone, what shocked me even more was that Wu Lin was quite the playboy. His pond was home to numerous fish. Besides Wei Yan, there were several other girls he dated, including one of my classmates whom I knew. From their conversations, it seemed like they were close to getting engaged. This classmate had a bad reputation, I heard from others in university that she worked as a bar girl and lived life to the fullest. Thinking about this, I added her WeChat. Wu Lin also borrowed money from these girls, ranging from several thousand to tens of thousands. He seemed to treat women as cash cows, selling himself with his gentle and handsome appearance to earn their money. While he spent lavishly on himself, he was extremely frugal with his amorous partners, sending them 5.2 yuan during holidays and then taking back the 520 yuan they returned. Recalling when we were in university and Wu Lin first pursued me, he was just as extravagant. He wouldn't buy clothes or pants for less than 1,000 yuan. I bought him expensive gifts, which he gladly accepted without hesitation, but he never reciprocated much. That's why I was so determined to have him give me that necklace. When he first started pursuing me, Wu Lin was very attentive. He would always help me cook and wait outside the classroom before class ended. If it rained, he would bring me an umbrella. At the time, I was deeply moved. Now, through his conversations with these amorous partners, I realized that this was the basic operation of a playboy. After we got together, eating out was mostly on my dime. Occasionally, he would buy me ice cream or skewers as a token of appreciation. When I asked him why, he said he needed money for his friends and used some persuasive words to get me to pay willingly. Now, thinking back, why did I fall for such a man and even got tricked into marrying him? And the reason he sought me out was clear. I'm an only child with local household registration, and my parents promised us that if we worked hard for 2 more years, they would help us buy a house. He wanted to marry me because of our house. I recorded and saved all the chat histories from his phone, but I knew that to find the most convincing evidence, I needed to go to Wei Yan's place. Fortunately, Wei Yan had helped Wu Lin secure a promotion at work, so I used this opportunity to send her a gift. I spent a lot of money on a decorative painting and had someone install a pinhole camera in it. I then sent the painting to Wei Yan as a gift from Wu Lin. In the evening, Wu Lin went to Wei Yan's place to report his work. I turned on the surveillance video, which was focused on the large bed in her bedroom. Sure enough, just as I had expected, there was an intense scene of a rich woman indulging a handsome young man. I angrily shut off the video and cursed Wu Lin in my heart for 1,000 times. Then, with great difficulty, I endured the discomfort and opened the recording. The conversation between Wu Lin and Wei Yan played out before me. "Senior Wei, do you like the necklace and painting I sent to you?" Wu Lin shamelessly treated the painting I bought as his own gift. "It's fine. Isn't it hanging on the wall?" Wei Yan showed no respect for it. "I thought Senior Wei didn't appreciate it. I don't know how to thank you for your help at work." "Senior Wei, you're looking more beautiful lately." Wu Lin continued to flatter her. "Less talk. It's time to pay the rent. I've already transferred it to your account." "Rent?" Now I knew that our rent had been paid by Wei Yan all along. I clearly remembered agreeing with Wu Lin that we would each pay half of the rent, but my portion of the rent money was swallowed up by him. Who knows if he even used it to buy gifts for other women. "Thank you, Senior Wei. I've received the rent." Wu Lin continued with a smile. "By the way, the necklace I sent you was carefully chosen." Darn it, he had copied my words word for word. "The necklace is nice. I like it very much." Wei Yan seemed somewhat satisfied and took out a box to give to Wu Lin. "This is the Longines watch you've been dreaming of. I bought it for you." After spending so long choosing the necklace, he traded it in for a Longines watch. I finally understood what he meant by high value for money, and I became this big fool, taking care of him and his mistress all along. Pfft. She should be called my third wife. When Wu Lin finished his work report and returned home, I acted as if nothing had happened and continued to treat him well, trying to make him relax his guard. In my heart, however, I was already planning another scheme. I wanted to go to the company where Wu Lin worked and start going there every day. I resigned from my current job and applied for a position at Wu Lin's company. After successfully getting hired, I began my next plan. Knowing that I had quit my job to apply at his own company, Wu Lin didn't seem very happy. "Wife, wasn't your old job okay? Why did you resign? Isn't it better to earn more money here than before? Because I want to spend more time with you. My dad said if we work in the same place, he can help us buy a house nearby. I found an excuse to get past him. Just do what you want. Wu Lin didn't question anything further. From then on, I went to work with Wu Lin every day. At the company, I got to know several colleagues who loved gossiping. One of them was a famous blabbermouth named Wang Hong. She inquired about everything from the top boss to new hires. After getting information, she would spread it around wherever she went, talking non-stop when she spoke. It was exactly what I needed for my plan, so I began cultivating a good relationship with Wang Hong. On the weekend, the private detective I had hired sent me a set of photos of Wei Yan. In the photos, Wei Yan looked very fashionable, sitting in her Mercedes-Benz, with a handsome young man beside her. Beside the car was an entertainment club that I had passed by before. Outside the club stood two young men with heavy makeup. The meaning of these photos didn't need much explanation. I asked the detective to keep an eye on Wei Yan for me. One old shark and one young shark, neither of them were good people. I drove over to the club and approached the waiter who greeted me. I asked him to introduce a handsome young man and told him my purpose. The waiter made a phone call after understanding what I wanted. After the call, the waiter quietly whispered in my ear that he could meet all my expectations. I gave the waiter $300 as payment and met the person he introduced. It was a very handsome young man, but he informed me that his business had been closed for quite some time. I didn't ask about the reason, it was just to get more money out of him. I had already decided to go all in and achieve my goal no matter what. Seeing that the young man met my requirements, I explained my situation to him and promised him a substantial sum after success. The young man naturally agreed without hesitation. Wu Lin returned from visiting his parents in the countryside, and he brought back the person I least wanted to see, his mother-in-law. As soon as she entered the house, she started criticizing me. One moment she complained that the floor was dirty, and another moment she criticized the tea being too hot. This was clearly a warning. To keep my plan in place, I forced a smile and endured her for a few days. I treated her like Empress Dowager Cixi, serving her until she completely lost any sense of being a guest and truly believed herself to be an emperor. His mother had always had high expectations for him, often fantasizing about Wu Lin marrying a white-collar beauty and bringing the whole family to live in a big villa in the city. My family background was only middle-upper class at best, far from meeting her standards, so she vented all her anger on me. However, Wu Lin knew that with his conditions, finding such a top-tier white-collar beauty would be impossible. Finding someone like me was already good enough. After all, he could only afford to keep those fish if they weren't too poor or too old. As long as she came to our house, she would come up with various ways to make me do things in order to display her and her son's status. Mother-in-law-daughter conflicts have always existed. However, I no longer considered Wu Lin my husband, so I didn't take it to heart. There was no need to argue with an old woman. I just found it laughable. How could she dream of such unrealistic fantasies when her own family standards were far below mine? Having this plague-like figure appear on Sunday was simply unbearable. Wu Lin went off to play games leisurely, while I was dragged around by his mother-in-law for various beatings. Wang Qing, you're already quite old. Why haven't you thought about having children yet? If you wait until you're 30, you'll be a pregnant senior citizen, which could harm the child's intellectual development. His mother-in-law crossed her legs and held a cup of tea, looking like she was lecturing. I just graduated last year. How can I be 30 already? I rolled my eyes. Ah, you're such a person. You don't even want anyone to say anything about it. You don't look like a good wife or mother at all. I'll tell you, now that you've married into the Wu family, you have to serve our Wu family's elders. The first thing you should do is have a child. His mother-in-law continued. I didn't bother arguing with her. There was silence in the air for a few seconds. His mother-in-law probably thought it wasn't interesting and opened her phone to watch TikTok. From then on, the whole house echoed with earthy music and inexplicable laughter. My nap was completely ruined. His mother-in-law loved watching TikTok and liked playing the volume very high. Whenever she saw funny videos, she would laugh hysterically, the kind of laughter that could make people's skin crawl. I went up to persuade her to turn down the volume, but then she started giving me more orders. What sound do you want me to turn off? Don't you know that elderly people have bad hearing? Go cut a fruit for me, and see if you can't do anything. Since I didn't do anything, who was sweeping the floor, brewing tea, or putting clothes away? There was no way to compete with someone who had no shame. I brought her the fruit and saw her watching a handsome live streamer. This mother-daughter pair truly inherited some traits from each other. This handsome live streamer was in his mid-20s, wearing a traditional suit, playing the main character of an anti-Japanese drama that was currently popular on TV. Whoever sent him money would get to chat with him, and whoever sent more money would get invited for a meeting. Wasn't this a typical scam tactic? Just to fool the elderly people. His mother-in-law happened to be her favorite TV role, even treating the live streamer like a real celebrity. She sent him a lot of money in one go. I couldn't help but laugh inwardly, waiting for her to fall deeper into the trap. Sure enough, after a short while, his mother secretly called me over and asked me to lend her some money. I gave her half of my monthly salary and even taught her how to follow him on social media, buy gifts, and spend several $1,000s to become #1 on the daily rankings. Then I helped her add the live streamer's WeChat. The scammer's tactic was to keep getting you to throw more money at him, keeping your interest piqued. His mother had clearly fallen into the trap. This mother-daughter duo truly inherited some traits from each other. The handsome live streamer was in his mid-20s, wearing a traditional suit, playing the main character of an anti-Japanese drama that was currently popular on TV. Whoever sent him money would get to chat with him, and whoever sent more money would get invited for a meeting. Wasn't this a typical scam tactic? Just to fool the elderly people. His mother-in-law happened to be her favorite TV role, even treating the live streamer like a real celebrity. She sent him a lot of money in one go. As I watched eavesdropping on their flirting, I only wanted to see the glory of eunuch Wu Lin's promotion conference as soon as possible. On the day of the promotion conference, Wu Lin went to the company with his plan in hand, looking smug. On the elevator, we met Wei Yan. "Morning, Ms. Wei." Wu Lin looked servile, like a dog wagging its tail. "Good morning, little Wu," Wei Yan said, ignoring me standing next to her and giving Wu Lin's bottom another sharp tap. I smiled back at her, feeling smug. Even with the tail about to be broken, he still held it high. Indifferent to their flirting, I just wanted to see Wu Lin's promotion conference as soon as possible. At the company, all employees gathered in the auditorium to hear Wu Lin and his competitor present their plans. The competitor's plan was very impressive and received unanimous praise from the leaders, with applause ringing out below. I noticed that Wu Lin's face was getting darker. The more the competitor spoke, the darker it became. Wei Yan's expression wasn't good either, she looked incredulous. When it was Wu Lin's turn to speak, his legs were shaking because he had nothing to say. Others had already explained his plan perfectly, and this competitor was very smart. They hadn't copied a single word but had grasped the essence of Wu Lin's plan and added their own explanations, making it seamless. Wu Lin panicked, losing all his confidence before stuttering through his presentation. The leaders couldn't help but notice how similar the two plans were, but based on the performance, Wu Lin looked like a plagiarizer. The final voting results: Wu Lin 0 votes, competitor 10 votes. Even Wei Yan didn't dare vote for him. That would expose their affair. What a clever move. Not stupid at all. I stifled my laughter below, putting on an expression of regret on the surface. When he got home, Wu Lin was like a deflated balloon. He couldn't understand why someone else's plan would be so similar to his. He looked at me in confusion. "Honey, did you tell anyone about the content of my plan?" "How could I do that? Would I harm you? I want you to promote more than anyone else. Could it be that your computer was stolen by him when you were at work?" "That's not impossible either, but there's no evidence." damn it. Stealing someone else's results is really despicable. Wu Lin cursed the competitor under his breath as he helplessly watched his promotion opportunity fall into someone else's hands. Yes, relying on such low-level tactics to get an opportunity is really disgusting. I shot a meaningful glance at Wu Lin. Selling your body for advancement and still thinking you're high-minded? I comforted Wu Lin well and encouraged him to keep going. After all, my plan would need more time to implement. After that, Wu Lin indeed kept working hard. He went to find Wei Yan much more frequently. Grandma had been very obsessed with that military uniform streamer, but she didn't have enough money to tip him and couldn't chat or meet him. She always found me to borrow money instead. So, I gave her another $2,000 and told her my salary was already spent, so why not ask Wu Lin? Grandma didn't want to spend her son's money, she looked very conflicted. So, I taught her a way out. This method was called online lending. Grandma didn't understand the dangers of online lending. She only saw the money in her account and herself becoming the top on the daily rankings repeatedly. The streamer called her big sister affectionately, making her extremely happy. A few days later, it was Wei Yan's 55th birthday. Her son and daughter-in-law came back from abroad to celebrate with her. Wei Yan was very happy and planned a birthday party for the weekend, inviting Wu Lin to join. I boldly followed them there. At the birthday banquet, I chatted very well with Wei Yan's daughter-in-law and exchanged WeChat numbers. During our conversation, I discovered that Wei Yan's daughter strongly hated cheaters. If she knew about Wei Yan's situation, she would probably sever ties with her mother. After this birthday banquet, Wei Yan became increasingly interested in Wu Lin, as if considering him for a second chance at love. Seeing these two so brazenly disregard me, I could no longer bear it. Anyway, the plan was almost complete, there was no need to continue acting out scenes with them. A few days later, I confronted Wu Lin one evening. Wu Lin, let me tell you something. I casually said, the promotion plan at your company that you previously leaked was actually me. Wu Lin immediately erupted, Wang Qing. Are you not hoping for my well-being? Did you secretly cheat with that man behind my back? Hearing him say this, I sneered, do you really think everyone is as dirty as you? Just because you love digging through trash doesn't mean others do. You dare to say such things? Don't forget why I worked so hard. You stole my plan. How could I trust you? Wu Lin didn't back down and grabbed my collar, wanting to hit me. Our argument woke up Grandma, who ran over and scolded me. Wang Qing, what do you want? It's not a big deal for your husband to scold you when you make mistakes. Son, don't spoil your wife, she can't be unruly. Mom, she stole my plan, so I failed in the promotion. Wu Lin shouted angrily and slapped me hard. Ah. Fine, we have a thief at home. Grandma screamed loudly, her voice extremely sharp. Shut up. Don't you two go around making noise. I already know about your affair with Wu Lin, is it all about chasing easy meals? We're getting divorced. I sneered coldly, the fish was on the hook, waiting to be reeled in. Getting slapped wasn't very appealing, but I would make sure to return the favor double-fold. Without giving them a chance to refute, I quickly walked into the bedroom and threw out the photos I had organized at Wu Lin and Grandma's faces. In Wu Lin's shock, I opened my phone's video recording and slammed the divorce agreement on the table with force. The video contained unbearable sounds. It was Wu Lin and Wei Yan. Grandma screamed in terror, as if she had seen a ghost. What now? Divorce or expose? I stared at those before me, feeling a sense of revengeful satisfaction. You, delete these. Or else I'll beat you to death. Wu Lin crazily tore the photos and rushed over to grab my phone. Grandma cursed profusely, spewing out a string of dirty words, looking like a street-arguing woman. I have cameras installed in the room, dare to touch me, and my parents will immediately call the police. I laughed mockingly. Divorce, or do you want to be publicly stripped in front of everyone? Wu Lin calmed his breathing and held back the madly barking grandma. Fine, divorce, but you have to promise to delete everything. Considering our marriage, don't be so ruthless, let's part amicably. Wu Lin picked up the divorce agreement. Mom, we can't sign this. This woman has bad intentions. Grandma was in a panic. Your son is set to divorce. If he doesn't do it now, I'll just have to go through the legal process a few more times. Even if Wu Lin didn't want to, I could take the affair evidence to court and see if he would still go through with the divorce. I don't need to keep my promises to such a scumbag. I wanted him to experience being cheated on. Wu Lin signed the divorce agreement and asked me to delete all the videos and photos in front of him, even destroying the surveillance footage. Wu Lin wasn't stupid. After divorcing, he could find a way to extort money from Wei Yan and start anew somewhere else. It would be better than everything being exposed, but he probably wouldn't fully trust me and would prepare to run away immediately. After the divorce, I moved out of the rental place, leaving it for that mother-son pair, and found another place to stay. I needed to wrap things up quickly before the fish got away. The handsome guy from the club sent me a message. He had successfully made Wei Yan fall in love with him, and Wei Yan was now starting to treat Wu Lin coldly. Last time, I added my classmate on WeChat and asked her to keep an eye on Wu Lin's activities and contact the girls who were cheated on, organizing them to collectively demand their money back. He must be getting bombarded by messages from various girls' accounts right now. My classmate told me that Wu Lin had been borrowing money from her lately. It seemed his in-laws had been swindled by a streamer, and he was short on funds. I asked my classmate to design something for Wu Lin to take out a high-interest loan, preferably until he went bankrupt. A few days later, the company organized a dinner. No one knew about my divorce from Wu Lin yet, but our unusually distant relationship had already sparked quite a lot of speculation. People were just guessing that we were having arguments and fights behind their backs. Chatterbox Wang Hong couldn't resist such an opportunity to gossip. At the table, she sat next to me, watching as I drank cup after cup of alcohol, with a curious look in her eyes. Wang Qing, what's wrong? Are you drinking so much? Wang Hong's loud voice echoed in my ear, attracting the attention of many colleagues. I pretended to be drunk and, following her curiosity, revealed Wu Lin's affair. Wang Hong, do you know? All men cheat. I always thought Wu Lin wouldn't, but he found a rich woman 30 years older than him behind my back. As I spoke, I rubbed the tears alcohol had brought to my eyes. What? Wu Lin, a rich woman who is 30 years older. Wang Hong was shocked and hurriedly pulled me aside for more details. What kind of rich woman, 30 years older? Your husband is also a great man. With Wang Hong's personality of gossiping without caring about privacy, she didn't even lower her voice when hearing such explosive news. Now everyone in our department knew that Wu Lin had cheated and his mistress was a woman who was 30 years older than him. Next, I revealed an even more explosive piece of information. Wu Lin was just another playboy being kept by Wei Yan. Under the pretense of being drunk, I opened Wu Lin and Wei Yan's video and sent it to the company group. The group exploded immediately. Everyone covered their eyes in disbelief as they looked at Wu Lin, who was usually well-dressed, now acting like a pair of beasts. A 50-year-old third wheel. If this were known, his grandmother would probably laugh until she fell off her chair. I kept sending photos to the group, including screenshots of Wu Lin chatting with various girls, borrowing money from them, and the intimate photos with Wei Yan. I also sent photos of Wei Yan entering entertainment venues, hugging handsome guys. The true faces of these two sea gods were exposed, and with Wang Hong's exaggerations, colleagues in the company suddenly surrounded them, launching intense moral condemnations. Wu Lin and Wei Yan were like rats caught in a corner, being pointed at and ridiculed by everyone. They felt utterly humiliated. I called my school sister, and several girls appeared at the door, victims, deceived by Wu Lin. They brought along helpers to surround Wu Lin, beating him up. Instead of intervening, everyone just enjoyed it. Someone noticed Wei Yan trying to escape in the chaos and shouted, attracting a group of female colleagues who pulled her away. Seeing Wu Lin beaten bloody and Wei Yan being dragged around and screaming, I laughed loudly on my seat, thinking this scene should be recorded for later viewing. I thought Wei Yan's daughter-in-law should witness it. So, I recorded a short video, including the previous sent photos, and sent it to Wei Yan's daughter-in-law. After about half an hour, she replied, "It's disgusting. We won't return to see her." This affair between two sea gods, spanning over 30 years of age difference, was truly nauseating. Their behavior was despicable, and people couldn't help but condemn them. Watching the commotion, I felt relieved. Now, it was time to enjoy the show properly. The best part was yet to come. Wang Hong couldn't bear it anymore and pulled me to post Wu Lin's infidelity pictures on the community bulletin board, giving a speech to the gathered grandmothers. Thus, the story of the 50-year-old rich woman keeping Wu Lin became a topic for grandmothers and young wives to gossip about. The news spread like wildfire, and Wu Lin and Wei Yan's scandal became common knowledge. I was fortunate to have moved out of that neighborhood in time. When I encountered Wei Yan again, she was shopping with a hat covering her face and a mask on, acting suspiciously, looking around nervously, afraid of being recognized. However, an observant grandmother noticed her and began gossiping behind her back. The company fired Wu Lin and Wei Yan due to the negative impact they caused. Wei Yan was about to retire, but this incident destroyed her long-standing good reputation. Since then, Wu Lin has been avoiding debt collection from a gang of women. When Wei Yan found out he had invested in stocks, she discovered that despite being in many relationships, she could still be stung by love. She angrily canceled his credit card and hired hooligans to force him to repay the debts. Wu Lin didn't have any money, his savings were depleted by his mother's online loans, and then he was scammed by my school sister, accumulating a huge debt. Now, he had to hide with his grandmother, evading creditors everywhere. The handsome guy from the club came to me for compensation and asked if Wei Yan had been scammed of her savings. He told me that Wei Yan's situation was even worse, she was looking for hospitals to treat her illness. I pressed him further about what disease it was, and he mentioned a sexually transmitted disease. After hearing this, I was shocked. I didn't know that the handsome guy hadn't been active for so long because he had contracted a sexually transmitted disease. So, Wei Yan couldn't blame me. This might be called reaping what you sow. Fortunately, after learning about Wu Lin's affair with Wei Yan, I stopped seeing him. Wei Yan's daughter officially broke off her relationship with her mother and refused to see her again. At 59 years old, Wei Yan experienced the loneliness of being abandoned for the first time. No more handsome guys surrounded her, her daughter didn't recognize her, decades of hard work in her career were destroyed, most of her property was scammed away, she should have retired happily but ended up being pointed at and gossiped about in hospitals. Wu Lin also contracted a sexually transmitted disease, struggling to find treatment. His mother's savings were depleted by the scam, and they had to live in a dilapidated old rental house together. One day, Wu Lin's mother picked through trash near my neighborhood and saw me. She rushed at me to demand repayment, blaming me for ruining her life and Wu Lin's. She refused to leave, dragging my leg with her dirty, ugly hands, while I called the police. The police intervened and, after understanding the situation, arrested the agitating grandmother in custody. When I saw Wu Lin again, he came asking for money, looking disheveled with a beard and messy clothes, no longer resembling the handsome college student. He was just a down-and-out uncle. Recalling his previous behavior towards me, I could only say, deserved it, and called on my neighbors to chase him away. After that, I never saw them again. When writing this, I was 24 years old. The future ahead was long, and I resolved to be vigilant against scammers and wish myself happiness.